As a lawyer or legal professional, I know that your time is very limited. So when it comes to improving your English communication skills so that you can communicate with international colleagues in work, I know that you want to find the most effective and fastest method to boost those communication skills. That is why I'm sharing with you in this video 7 of my top podcast recommendations for legal professionals. This comes from my own experience with my background in law and also helping other lawyers and legal professionals with their English. And so listening to these podcasts throughout your week is a really good way of taking in new vocabulary and ways of expressing different ideas about law, policy, international affairs in English. And if you are at all interested in these topics and you are not a legal professional or a lawyer, I think you will still find these quite interesting as I cover quite a broad range of topics. So just before we get started, I wanted to introduce myself for anyone new to these videos. My name is Ruth Whittle. I am founder of English for Change, helping you build a confident voice in English so that you can make positive change in your life with better English. And I particularly help legal professionals who want to boost their English communication skills so that they can make a greater impact in their work. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you want to see future videos like this, and let's get on with the video. So the first 3 podcast recommendations I'm going to give you are purely legal focused. They are focused on different jurisdictions, Ireland, the UK, and the USA. So the first one, of course, as I'm from Ireland myself, I'm giving you an Irish recommendation. It is from the Bar of Ireland podcast. And this podcast covers, and I'm just going to read it, from history to current affairs, legal developments to art and literature. This episode, it covers all aspects of the barrister's profession with new episodes released frequently. So a barrister in Ireland is like a lawyer in the USA. They are dealing mainly with the court system. We have 2 types of lawyers in Ireland and then also in the UK, a solicitor and a barrister. So this comes from the Bar of Ireland podcast. And just to give you a feel for some of the most recent episodes. There was one recently looking at inclusion during Black History Month, another on personal injuries, temporary release developments in the prison system, and also interviews with renowned judges in Ireland. So that's the first one, and I think it's a really good one, and you can find all of the episodes on their website, and I think also on Spotify. The second podcast recommendation is USA based, and it's called Bloomberg Law Podcast. So the host is June Grasso, and it speaks with prominent attorneys and legal scholars analyzing major legal issues and cases in the news. And just to give you a flavor of some of the most recent episodes, we had one about a copyright case with an intellectual property lawyer, another one on the tax fraud case with the Trump organization, another on Adidas and Kanye breakup, and racism case as well. So plenty to choose from, lots of different types of topics. So whatever kind of lawyer or legal professional you are, I'm sure there will be something that will suit you there. So if you're particularly interested in one of these jurisdictions, of course, I would recommend you choose whichever, whether it's Ireland, the USA, or going on now to the UK. And this actually comes from the London School of Economics. So it's a university there, or a school, very well renowned for international affairs, law, politics. And they have a really good series of podcasts. It's a really great idea because, you may not be able to attend some of these events in person, and maybe some of these events are also, you need to pay a fee to attend, but you could actually listen to some of these events in podcast form. And a really wide range of policy debates of lawyers and law teachers from around the world. We have something about law and Ukraine. We have courts and judges, criminal law, equality, diversity, EU law, private law, public law, technology. So again, in this one, something for everyone, and I highly recommend LSE, London School of Economics, is really a well-renowned school, and they have some really great resources on there as well, including the podcast. So those are 3 podcasts that you can put on while you're, cooking, going for a run, in the gym, driving in the car, and you can listen and take in some of the vocabulary in the ways that they express certain legal topics. The other 4 podcast recommendations I have for you are a little bit more broad and looking more at the kinds of issues that lawyers have to deal with, whether it is international affairs or migration. So the first one is Asylum Speakers podcast. It used to be called Worldwide Tribe, and it's by Jazz O'Hara. She presents this podcast. It's a really unique insight into interviewing different asylum seekers and migrants and their journeys and their stories entering different countries, their integration into these countries, their migration journeys from their countries of origin. So if you are in the field of immigration, migration, justice, I think it would be a really good podcast to listen to, and just to pick up more generally and more broadly and looking at the stories and the kinds of cases that you deal with in your work. Okay, and then going on to podcast number 5, and this is one of the BBC ones that I'm going to recommend. I have 2 BBC recommendations because I really like the BBC, especially the BBC World Service. It's a radio station that I listen to myself a lot at home, and it's something that every time I listen to the BBC World Service, to be honest, I always think, oh, it's perfect for improving your English language skills. Because number one, they speak quite clearly and they also explain the kinds of terms and things that they reference, but they don't make it too simple. They don't oversimplify things. So it's great because, you know, their audience is an international audience, so they need to break down these terms and explain things. And also the other thing is that there are different accents, like a huge variety of different accents in the BBC World Service. So it makes it really a great radio station and also podcast to follow. So back to the podcast recommendation number 5, the Tech Tent. So this is all about technology. So really good if you are in data protection, privacy, technology law. So it gives every week the biggest stories in tech from the BBC. And just to give you a flavour of some of the topics, you have biometrics, you have India's high-speed broadband revolution, cryptocurrency, of course, why so few women are in tech, and also looking at the protests in Iran. So yeah, a really great mixture of that, and I like to listen to it myself on the radio when it comes on, and listening to it when I'm having my dinner or something. And it's a world that I'm not really that familiar with technology, but I do have a lot of students that come to me who are working in this area, data protection and privacy, and it is a really growing area that is much needed now with the boom in technology. A really good one to listen to and to increase your awareness of the vocabulary and how things are expressed in English on this topic. Then podcast recommendation number 6 is another BBC one. It's one of my favorites. I probably have been listening to podcasts maybe 10 years even. I think, you know, the podcasts have become quite popular in the last, I would say, 5 years, but I've always loved the idea of a podcast, of being able to just put it in your ear while you're out and about or doing something else. You can just learn and do your daily chores and your daily tasks, and it's really effective, especially if you are an audio learner like I think I am myself. So just back to it, I'm kind of going off topic, but recommendation number 6 is BBC World Service, the documentary. And it's a broad range of global topics, global affairs, development, issues and affairs. So you get some legal topics, but you also get a lot about politics and different countries around the world, not just English speaking countries or Europe, but all around the world. So it's really, really good. Just a few recent ones to give you a flavour again. The bleak reality of the red light district in Amsterdam, story of a deaf man freed from slavery, the gender revolution in India, and China's political party. So yeah, a really broad range of topics covered, and I think these kinds of issues are dealt with as a lawyer, so I think it's a really good one to listen to. And the final one, podcast recommendation number 7, is a Legal English podcast. And so it is all focused on you as an English learner, but particularly as a legal professional or lawyer. And it's hosted by Louise Kolbicki. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but she is a British English language teacher and she also has a background in law. And her podcast episodes are really great. They go into lots of details about different areas of law and legal English from all over the world. She has both paid and free podcasts, so it's a really good option for you to listen and to hear more targeted legal English vocabulary. So yeah, I would highly recommend that one. So that is all 7 of the podcast recommendations I have for you. I hope you enjoyed this video, and that you will go and listen to some of them, because I think it's going to really help you to boost your vocabulary and to just hear how things are expressed in English, so that you will feel more confident being able to express these ideas and issues yourself. Let me know in the comments. I would love to know, which is your favorite podcast recommendation? Maybe you haven't listened to it yet, but which one do you think you will go and listen to? And if you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you liked the video as well. Thank you very much for watching, and I will talk to you in the next video.